Hi everyone. Sorry, just one second. Hi everyone. We're going to start with the today's session, and today we'll be discussing the meal plan. I hope you all had a chance to take a look at it. And before we get started, I know some of you messaged about specific health problems. The way the program is designed, it should be okay for pretty much anyone to do it. It's just that in certain health conditions, certain foods are not suitable, and some people are intolerant to few vegetables or raw foods or certain grains and can be allergic to any nuts. So please be careful about that. And if there is anything that you notice that can trigger your symptoms, please, I'll suggest that if you have any specific health issues, then you can show this meal plan to your practitioner and just check with them that everything is okay. And if you do find something that is not suitable for you, you can message me and I can give you an alternative to that. Just one second, I'm just getting some notifications. So my screen, I can't see the screen. Can we just accept these participants? Because I'm getting a notification on my screen, so I'm not able to see it.
Yes, so actually I've allowed them, but it takes around a minute for participants to get in.
Okay.
So yeah.
So let's start with the sun cycle and our inner body clock. I'm sure we've all heard about the circadian rhythm, and basically what that means is all species and including humans, we have our internal body clock which works according to the sunlight, and that is why we should be awake during the day and sleeping at night. And if we think about older times when there was actually no electricity, then we were sort of forced to do that because we had to get all our work done during the day as there was no electricity at night, so you couldn't see anything. So that's how nature intended us to be. But with the introduction of electricity, of course, there are certain kinds of jobs that involve people being up at night, and or just for sometimes for socializing, people are partying late at night and not sleeping. Once in a while it's okay to do, but as a rule, and we should not really make that a lifestyle. Also, our digestive fire works with sun's fire. So if we see that after sunrise, that's when the digestive system starts working, but it's not at its maximum. And during the afternoon, when the sun is at its peak, that's when our digestive fire is at its peak, and it starts to slow down as the day passes by. So that's why it's always recommended that if you want good health, then you must follow the sun cycle. You should wake up actually at least half an hour, 1 hour before sunrise, and have your heaviest meal of the day between 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. and try to have your last meal, in fact, by 6 p.m., 7 p.m. That's the best time, but you can extend up to 8. And after that, we should go to bed by 9, 10, 10:30. Those are the ideal timings. So why we suggest organic, and I know there were a few questions also in the WhatsApp group about eating organic and inorganic. So of course, we all know that the most ideal food for us would be food grown organically, but it's not always available, or certain vegetables are not available. Sometimes it's too expensive, but I see that we end up spending a lot more money in doctor's fees or hospital bills. If we could just spend that money and invest in our own health by buying organic foods, then I don't think there's any harm. And the more and more people start eating organic, the cost will actually eventually come down, because if the demand increases, the supply will be available at a better cost. So the reason why we should be eating organic is, of course, all the pesticides that are being sprayed during the cultivation. a lot of modified and hybrid seeds are coming as well. GMO is definitely a great threat to our health. And I won't go into a lot of detail, but eating a lot of genetically modified foods can actually rupture our intestines. And if you've heard of the leaky gut, that's a syndrome that can happen. And a lot of other health issues can happen with the genetically modified foods. So if we are eating organic, at least we know that, we are not eating GMO food. Another reason is when we eat organic, we are eating from farmers market or we are sourcing directly from farmers. Then, of course, we know that the food has not been dipped into dyes to make it look greener, and that's why I have noticed sometimes at organic markets that when I go buy vegetables there, some people who are new there, they look at the vegetables and they say, oh my god, it's expensive and it doesn't even look pretty, and they are all different shapes and size. Well, that's what naturally grown food looks like. It's not going to look pretty, but from the inside it's good and it's nutritious. And the fact that it's not sprayed with chemicals is one thing. Another is dipping in colors to make it look pretty. Third is that inorganic, the vegetables that we are buying in supermarkets, because they want to increase the shelf life, they also pass them through different procedures, different kinds of lights or rays to make them look good for a longer period of time. And that's why they look good and we get tempted to buy them, but we don't know that they actually have no nutrients left in them but more toxins that we are putting inside our body. So these are a few important reasons. But having said that, sometimes we do need to get some inorganic vegetables, and one of the reasons for that is actually seasonal vegetables. Like organic vendors would usually just have seasonal vegetables, and we get bored of eating those few vegetables that are available and we want more variety. Ideally, again, that is not something we should do. We should be eating vegetables according to the season and local as much as possible. Again, that's what nature designed us for. Because the way vegetables grown, it actually depends. Like the vegetables that are growing in summers or fruits that are growing in summers, they are more cooling for the body, and vice versa for winters. That's why we should be eating seasonal and local vegetables. So, but anyways, if we still need to buy inorganic vegetables for various reasons, to clean them, you can take a bucket of water and add about half to 1/4 cup of vinegar and soak your vegetables in that for about 20 minutes. That helps a bit. Another thing is vegetables that you think could have actually been dipped in colors, you should definitely take the peel off in that case. But otherwise, there's no need. I mean, it won't make a difference because the pesticides that were sprayed on the vegetables are in the whole vegetable. So whether you peel it or not is really not going to make a huge difference. But like I said, definitely sometimes some vegetables are actually dipped in colors. So yeah, peeling the skin would help. If you've gone through the meal plan that we shared, you must have noticed that there's a green juice every morning on at least 4 days. And the reason we encourage green juice is because when you juice your vegetables, then all the pulp or the fiber is removed, and the juice now has a concentration, because you can take these many vegetables and you'll get a glass of juice from that. So it's nutrients from all those vegetables in one glass. So your glass of juice is very high in nutrition, and because it has no fiber, it is very easy for the body to digest and you get instant energy. So juices are great even as a post-workout meal. If you've just done your exercise, it's great to have a green juice first, because your body has done a lot of work. And if you eat right after workout, a lot of people do that, and people think, oh, I need a high protein meal, so they'll have a salad bowl, a lot of sprouts and things like that. But at that time, the body has literally just done a lot of work, and protein is one of the hardest thing to digest, and body has to do a lot to digest proteins. So immediately after exercise and workout, green juices are a great meal to have. And after half an hour or so, when you've received that energy from the juice, you can have your meals. Since this has no fiber, they are very low in calorie. And of course, because we recommend having juices from green vegetables, your juice will be highly alkaline. We are having a lot of health issues because of the fact that the body, we are eating a lot of acidic foods, and the blood has to stay at a certain pH level. And if we keep eating acidic foods, the blood cannot afford to turn acidic, because we need that pH level to live, basically. So to maintain its pH level, the blood starts to take all the minerals from our bones or teeth, and that's why problems like osteoporosis or arthritis become common, and people get joint pains because, or your teeth become weaker. It's because you're taking in a very acidic diet, and the blood is taking all the minerals from the bones to maintain the pH. It helps in weight management. So if you need to gain weight or you need to lose weight, if you have green juices, it's really going to help with that. Because if you want to gain weight, it's giving you the right nutrition. And if you want to lose weight, then it's a lot of nutrition with less calories. So it helps with the weight loss. And green juices are a great source of detox as well. So even if you want to fast, you can fast on green juices. And I'll probably talk a bit more on fasting on juices in the last session, because we have not included that in the meal plan. Why we encourage more raw foods is because they have hope, which is hormones which are from plants. So basically, hormones in dairy or meat are animal hormones which are not suitable for humans. And that's why a lot of hormonal imbalances are becoming common both in men and women and of all age groups. So we need hormones more from plants. Then they have a lot of oxygen. The moment we cook food, all the oxygen in plants is destroyed. They have phytonutrients, basically the nutrients that help the body to fight any pathogens or diseases. And they have a lot of enzymes which are necessary for digestion. So basically, whenever we eat food, the body, the stomach, it needs digestive enzymes to digest the food. So if we only keep eating cooked food that has no enzymes, then there's a lot of enzymes in our body, and the body keeps using those, and eventually we will run out of them. So the more raw foods we eat, and during digestion, those enzymes will be used, and we can keep our enzymes safe for a longer period of time. Okay, so if you've noticed, all the recipes that we have given are oil-free, and there are various reasons why we should not be consuming oil, and especially cooking oil. Eating raw oils is still okay if you really need to, but honestly speaking, there is actually no need to consume oils. Oils are good for a massage. We don't need to consume them. The biggest reason is that when we go to supermarkets and we want to buy a lot of oil, because we're using in 5, 10, 20 liters every month for the whole family, and we're looking for cheaper options. So the supermarkets want to give you cheap oils that can last, that have a good shelf life, because they are also transporting it from the date of manufacturing till the time you consume it. So to increase the shelf life, they put the oils under a lot of different kinds of processes, and that makes them toxic. And then when we come home and we cook in them, we are further heating it again, and we make it more toxic. Then they are always in plastic bottles, so all the plastic also is leached in that oil, making it further more toxic for us. A lot of the times you'll buy some, unless you're buying organic or cold press, but say you're buying a sesame oil from a supermarket rack, it'll smell really nice. But the fact is that they are all adulterated, and they actually use just essence of different materials. So you think that you bought sesame oil, but maybe it wasn't, or maybe it was half adulterated. Then there are all these marketing gimmicks, and one day you'll see ads on rice bran oils and things like that. And you think, okay, this must be healthy because the oil I'm using is not suiting me. So you keep trying one thing or the other. The problem is that we are not taking whole grains. Like we want to have white rice, and we want to have wheat flour instead of whole wheat flour. Then when we get health issues, we are looking for options like rice bran oils. So, why have a rice bran oil and white rice? We could just have brown rice and we are sorted, and that will actually turn out to be cheaper and healthier as well. There's also a lot of cotton seed oil in the market, and cotton, there are some documentaries on it. There was so much GMO cotton in India, giving so many skin problems to a lot of the farmers. So the seed itself, there was the plant was giving problem to farmers, and now we're processing that and turning it into oil and consuming that oil. um, Furthermore, when we take oil of any seeds or plants, like peanut oil for example, we are extracting just the oil, right? So that's about 30% to 40% oil from that particular seed. um, so the rest of the stuff is a waste, in the sense we are not consuming the whole thing, the whole peanut, but we're just taking 30% of it. So when you do that, again, nature did not design that for us. Nature intended us to eat the whole peanut instead. So when we only take a part of any food, it's difficult for the body to digest that. So firstly, we oils are anyways not very good for our digestion, and the remaining 70%, now what the companies do, because they have just a lot of that fiber, they either make biscuits out of it or they feed it to animals. So, and especially things like if it's BT cotton, then it's just a very dangerous food for animals as well. And if we are eating those biscuits, so that's bad as well. Then to increase the production of oil, they sometimes hybrid the seeds so that there is more oil that comes out. So again, we are playing with nature, and it's not really the best thing for our health. And then there is a smoke point of anything, right? So when we are cooking oils, and if we go past their smoking point, then again, they become toxic. So instead, we could just use the seeds or nuts or coconuts and avocados directly rather than using their oils. There are basically all oils will have three kinds of fatty acids and in different ratios. So some are saturated, some are monounsaturated, and some are polyunsaturated. So the ones that are made with saturated will be more stable, and they won't be very sensitive to heat and light. But the ones that are monounsaturated or polyunsaturated, they are very sensitive to heat and light. So if you just Google the name of oils that you are buying, like safflower oil or sunflower oil from the supermarket, and you check their temperatures, you will actually realize that, when they were processed in the industry, they actually went past that temperature. So the oil we are consuming is toxic. Here is a list of nuts that are more stable as compared to others. So if you are cooking without oil, it's okay to use these nuts and seeds. Try to keep the temperature low. So whenever you are making any oil-free dish and you want to add cashews or almonds in there, just make sure that your flame is at the lowest possible. Or if you're using the oven, then you can keep it at 160 degrees. I know it will take a little longer, but slow cooking has a lot of benefits. So these are the nuts that you can use during cooking. Another issue is that there are some essential and non-essential fatty acids. So essential fatty acids are those that our body cannot produce, and we have to consume them through our diet. And based on the recent lifestyle that we have of eating a lot of dairy and meat, then exercising less, taking a lot of medicines, all this has disrupted the balance of omega-3 and omega-6. So because of the current lifestyle, omega-6 ratio has gone much higher than what it should be. And then we end up taking omega-3 supplements. To avoid that, we should be including more omega-3 in our diet, which is available in walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds. They are all rich source of omega-3, and you'll notice that I've given flax powder in the meal plan. I have given a recipe of flax chutney, and it's pretty simple. You can just read it and make that. But there's an option. You don't necessarily need to make the flax chutney and have it. You can just simply take flax seeds and just grind them. Don't powder it too much, just grind it on pulse setting just for a few seconds, and it just breaks up into smaller pieces. So it's like a coarse powder. And you can just sprinkle that in your salad or even your meals anywhere. It won't have a very strong taste. So never roast flax seeds because they come under the category of the unstable ones. So we never cook or roast flax seeds. So just make that thick powder of flax seeds and just sprinkle it on your food. So there were a lot of questions on dairy and why can't we have yogurt? So I thought I'll include it since a number of you were concerned about this. So if you look at this picture, it looks nice. The cow sitting there in grass and she's free to walk around. But we don't get this anymore. And they are, even if you look at, go to gaushalas and when you feel that, okay, I'm getting it from an ethical source, do you think they treat their cows like this? Or they are actually tied somewhere and their calves are tied away from them so that the people of gaushala, they need money to run, right? So they don't let the calves drink the milk first, but they milk the cow first and the calf only gets the leftover milk. If we look at all the species on earth, humans are the only ones who are drinking milk from another species. So, and humans are the only ones who need hospitals. So I guess there is something definitely wrong that we are doing. No other animal, like, if a calf is born, he drinks cow's milk for a certain, whatever, 8 months time. After that, they don't, when the cow cannot give milk anymore, they don't go look around for some other animal to have milk, right? They just start eating grass. So that's the case with humans. We were only supposed to have our mother's milk when, till the time she is lactating, and we have that till whatever, 2, 3, 4 years of age, and after that we start eating food. We don't need to look for other sources of milk. And if it's for calcium or protein, we have enough in our vegetables. Chemical composition also of every species milk is different. So humans are supposed to have human milk. Cow's milk has a very different chemical composition, which is not suitable for us. And recently, a lot of people have started noticing that they are lactose intolerant as well. It also has growth hormones, and a lot of kids now reach puberty early. Um, there are also hormonal issues, like a lot of young girls start to get hair on their face, and issues both ways for men and women because of the growth hormones in the cow's milk. And I am not sure about this, but I read somewhere that when a male calf drinks the milk versus a female calf drinks the milk, different kinds of hormones are released in that milk from the cow. So basically, there is a difference in the milk, and I think it's true for humans as well. So when we are drinking cow's milk now, we don't know whether that was with male hormones or female hormones, and so we are bound to get hormonal issues. So again, it's better not to have milk. If there are so many documentaries now out there that talk about dairy industry and how it is so harmful for our environment, um, even if you say, okay, I am going to get milk from a cow who is treated like this in this photograph, just look at the amount of land that is needed. And so, do you think that this situation is actually possibly can feed the entire population of India or the whole world? I mean, if we want that, then maybe there should be just like 1 crore people in the whole world, and the rest of the world, cows should be roaming around in a grass like this, which just does not happen. Another concern with the people a lot of times question that, oh, Ayurveda recommends dairy and stuff. So basically, with Ayurveda, they have noticed it doesn't really force you for anything. It leaves you at your own will. Sometimes, yes, a ghee or a curd is given as a treatment in certain health conditions. So what is a medicine should be treated as medicine, not food or lifestyle. And even when in Ayurveda, it mentioned they, at that time, they would always make sure that, what kind of cow is it and how it was treated, and they weren't injecting cows with antibiotics and hormone injections. So all that also matters. Then there is metaphysics of food, which I explained in my previous session as well, that when we are milking a cow or killing an animal for food, they have a lot of negative emotions. They get transferred in the food, and then when we eat that food, those emotions reflect in us as well. The most asked question again that people say, oh, even Lord Krishna used to have butter. Yes, he's known as Makhan Chor, not Milk Chor. And again, those times were different. And if you have seen Krishna series, you will see that he used to tell the gopis that he would tell them not to tie the calf because its calf's right on the milk first. So he would let them drink that milk, and only from the spare milk it was used to make butter. And again, the way they processed butter in those times, it actually was slow cooked for a very long time and then churned in natural materials, and that made it a bit more suitable for our body as compared to drinking milk or having curd. So a lot of people ask this as well, that why no wheat, and we've been having it since childhood, and why stop it now? So one reason is we should give it a try if we are facing health issues, and there's no harm in trying a wheat-free diet and see how it works for you. The reason is, years ago, the variety of wheat that was available was very different from what is available now. Also now, like I mentioned, for various reasons, they have to hybrid some varieties. Our soil is also not the same as it used to be hundreds and thousands of years ago. So the wheat that we eat today is actually very different from what was grown then. And another is old times, even my grandmom, she used to buy wheat in bulk, wash it at home, soak it, wash it, shade dry, sun dry, and then process it to make flour. And that is the right way to consume. So if today you want to have wheat, you should also follow these processes. People even sprout or ferment it and then have rotis with that. So for example, even idli dosa, I would say, is so much healthier, because, and you can make that with wheat as well. So you could make a dosa with wheat, but the fact that you went through all those steps, so you have made it more bioavailable for your body, and then it's okay. So you want to eat wheat, then you have to eat it the right way. But today we don't have time to soak for 2 days and then shade dry for 2 days, then sun dry for 2 days, and then make atta. So that way is, we can just replace wheat with millets, which is a much healthier option. Making millet rice is literally doesn't take more than 10 minutes. So the meal plan is also free from any preservatives. So I would request you all not to open any packet food and eat it just because of a quick hunger pan. Because anything that's packed will have more than necessary amount of salts and sugar. And the food industry purposely adds a lot of sugar and salts in that to make you addictive to their food. And funnily, they also add lab generated, you can say, something like drugs. They try and copy their molecular structure, so it's not actually a drug, so they don't have to list it. And the fact that it's less than 1% in the ingredient content. So basically, by law, they are not required to list ingredients that are less than 1%. But all these things actually make your food very addictive. So, each one of us has certain favorite things that, oh, I love Uncle Chips, so I have to have Uncle Chips every day. Because you have now become addicted to that particular food. And when it is so high in salt, it makes you thirsty. And after that, you just want to have a glass of Coke. You are now addicted to the sugars in Coke and salts in the chips. So, you get into that vicious cycle and it just doesn't stop. And like I also mentioned about that, you're feeding the bad bacteria, and now that bad bacteria will make you crave for those things as well. Another thing is the cookware. I know obviously you can't arrange this right now for this particular week, but it makes a huge difference in what you are cooking your food. So look for natural cookwares like clay or stoneware. I have tried both, and I personally thought clay was a bit difficult to handle and to cook food also. And when I tried the soapstone cookware, it is just absolutely amazing. It takes slightly longer than usual, but they are so easy to use and maintain. It's just amazing. I can recommend this to everybody. On the right is the curd jar. So when you are setting your curds or making that millet kanji, anything probiotic should not be done in a metal container, because the metal again reacts and hampers the growth of good bacteria. So you should use a clay pot or a stone pot or ceramic or glass when you're fermenting anything. So here's the list of activities. You can do all of them every day if you have time, and you will see huge changes. But do any one of them at least as time allows. Nima, I've already sent the video, which is pretty self-explanatory. You don't need to do it for the rest of your life, but if you've never done it before, it's a very good idea to do it every day for 3 weeks, and you will see for yourself that why we encourage that. And after 3 weeks you can do it once a week, and few weeks later you will probably just see that, okay, nothing is coming out anymore, so I don't need to use it, and then you can reduce it to once a month, once in 3 months. That's okay, that's your own journey, but I would recommend everyone to do it every day for 3 weeks, and then once a week for a few weeks. Exercise, really you can do anything that you like. Deep breathing and pranayam, if you are already familiar or you do yoga, you know how to do it, that's great. If you've never done that before, the only tip I'll give is that we need to learn abdominal breathing. So basically what happens on our usual day, if you just notice that when you breathe in, your stomach goes in, and when you breathe out, your stomach grows bigger. So that's actually the other way around. That's the wrong way of breathing. So early in the morning, if you take 5 minutes and notice it, that when you breathe in, your stomach should go out, and when you exhale, your stomach should go in. So just practice that and just breathe slowly, at a count of 3 to 4 to 5. With time, you can increase it. So at a count of 4, you are breathing in. So your stomach is coming out, and then you hold that for a few seconds, and then you exhale slowly, and your stomach goes in. Meditation is a very personal choice. I have not actually written it in the meal plan, because I feel somebody who does meditation would do it anyway, and who doesn't do it will not. But somebody in the group mentioned about sleep problems, and I think meditation is very helpful with that. You can do it early in the morning, you can do it before going to bed, whatever suits you. And again, what is meditation is different for different people, so you can figure out what suits you. There is an online class for beginners that I am doing. If somebody wants, I can share the link in the WhatsApp group. Even gum massage, I have not included in the meal plan, so you can just note it down. Doing massaging your gums before going to bed, it's okay. You can use a tooth powder or a toothpaste, whatever you use, but it makes a huge difference. You do it for 5 days. I mean, especially for a few people mentioned constipation, so it's really good for that. You do it for a few days, you will notice the difference in the morning, because when you massage your gums, it really helps in circulation. And these are some activities that I've suggested in the evening. Foot massage, ideally any kind of massage. I mean, if you get it done from a professional, that's great, but it's not possible right now with the lockdown. Usually, like a lifelong practice, I would suggest that a foot massage or a body massage or shoulder neck massage, if you can get it done from a professional once a month, that's great. And otherwise, just do it yourself, or you can tell your partner or your kids, somebody to, or your mom, somebody to do it for you. Just like a quick 10 minutes foot massage, pressing the points, rubbing with the palms, any oil you can use, and just do a quick 10 to 15 minutes massage, be it foot or whole body, just your arms, even with ears. It's so relaxing. Before going to bed, you take just few drops of oil and you just massage your ears. It's all very relaxing. It will help with sleep, it improves circulation, so it will anyways help with digestion as well. For foot spa, again, we used to go for manicure and pedicure. People go. I find them pretty useless, to be honest, because I don't know what they are putting in there. You know, weird, colorful shampoos they bring, and there's just froth everywhere, and there is no need. Just take warm water or hot water as long as you can tolerate it in a bucket, and add Epsom salt, half a cup of Epsom salt, or half a cup of ginger powder, whatever you have. Both these in water, they absorb a lot of toxins from the body. So add that in water along with any essential oil of your choice. I like to use lavender. It's also very soothing and relaxing. um, Even when you're doing a massage, you can mix in a few drops of lavender oil. My favorite combination is sesame oil with a few drops of lavender to body massage or head massage. I use that. In summers, you can also use coconut oils. So for foot spa, I was saying the Epsom salt or ginger powder along with few drops of your essential oil. You sit in that for 20 minutes. And after that, you need a pumice stone to, you will notice a lot of dead skin on your feet. So just rub it off nicely. It is also very important, you know, anything like which is dead, you don't want it. So we never remove dead skin from our bodies, which is a very important part. That's how the new cells will get room to breathe. So just rub it off nicely with a pumice stone, and always end the massage with a oil massage. Sorry, always end the foot spa with a oil massage, because the Epsom salt or the ginger powder can make the feet a bit dry. So you can just do a quick 2 minutes oil massage after that. Probiotic hair rinse. So basically the millet kanji that we'll be seeing the recipe today can actually be used as a hair rinse. So basically, you don't need to wash your hair that day. And if you washed one day, so maybe the next day or the day after that, you can just apply the millet kanji on your hair, either with a spray bottle or some, like, make partitions and section your hair and then apply it like a hair oil throughout your hair, leave it for 20 minutes, and then rinse it again with water. So you don't really need to shampoo before or after that. If you feel like it, you can do it either ways, before or after. But there is absolutely no need. And I feel everybody is over washing and cleaning their hair. So we don't need to wash hair so much. Maybe you can shampoo your hair once a week, and once a week you can use this rinse. It's anyways lockdown, we're not going anywhere. So, that's fine. Then steam inhalations are great, especially in these times. So whenever you get a chance, you can take some steam, and it's also relaxing. So, doing it before going to bed, it helps. Okay, so I'll start with a recipe video of the almond yogurt. After that, we'll do the millet kanji recipe. And after that, we can take all the questions together. And there is some things about the recipes I'll tell you once both the videos are done. And soak almonds and sesame seeds in it. Then rinse rice just once, not wash too much, and soak it in 1 cup water. This is important that we soak it in exactly 1 cup water, as the oranges better. Keep the design for 8 to 12 hours. After 8 hours, remove the bowl of water from almonds and sesame seeds. Add them to the blender. Add a little water for the blender. Remove the fat slowly. And try to remove 1.5 cups of water. Now, this is for my almond. Okay, so I'll play the next video and then we can take the questions after that.
Actually, there is no volume, like sound is not coming.
Was it clear in the previous video?
No, it wasn't.
Can you check now?
Yeah, it's not clear actually. It's audible now, but it's not clear. Like we can't understand anything. So maybe we can share these videos in the group and
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Okay, so I'll just briefly tell you how to consume them. In the meal plan, it's given when you need to take it. But in terms of the quantities, basically when you start with and you've not been having probiotics on a daily basis before, so body can take some time to adjust. So you should start with about 100 ml of this millet kanji. You can have 100 ml of that, and if you want you can dilute with water or not, that's okay, doesn't matter. And after a week or 10 days you can increase to 200 ml, and you don't need to take more than that anyway. So you can, yeah, so that should be enough. So we can take the questions, and then any recipe related questions when I share them in the group, then you can ask them later in the WhatsApp.
Okay, so shall I start with the questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So Nagendra has asked that how to get rid of IBS.
Basically, that is something you'll need a personal consultation. This is a generic group, you know, it's not there to fix particular health problems. I mean, it's a meal plan you will have to follow, and you can follow this as long as you know that none of the foods are irritants for you. And if raw foods is a problem, you can switch it with steamed foods. This kind of a meal plan will be helpful. And again, even with enemas, you will have to check with your doctor, but they should help with IBS. So if you could follow a plan like this, just replacing a few things that don't suit you, and again depends on how, since when you've had IBS and how serious and chronic it is, that would depend on how long you need to follow the meal plan. Basically, I've given a bit more rigorous meal plan depending on whatever your health issue is, how serious it is. You should decide how long you want to do it. You can follow this same weekly meal plan for actually even a year or the rest of your life. There is nothing wrong with that. But people who have no health issues and they don't want to follow it so rigorously, they can have more cooked meals during the day. But I would still suggest everyone to follow this for 3 weeks. But if you feel that you have some hormonal issues or IBS or any other health problems, you can just continue on this. I followed it exactly like this for more than a year, and I still do it. I mean, this for me, this plan is almost what I've been doing for 3 years. But for the first 1 year, I was very strict, and after that, I was feeling much better and healthy. So now, when you do it for a year, you anyways you become so comfortable with it that you don't really want to make any changes. But now and then, if I do feel hungry during the day, I have a little more cooked with my lunch sometimes. But this meal plan is good for everybody and for as long as they want to do it. It can help reverse pretty much any health problems.
Okay. So Hiral has asked that is it okay to start the day with warm water and honey? Can I continue for next 7 days too?
So this meal plan is without any animal products, and for various reasons. So here I will not recommend honey in the morning. You can just have plain warm water, and that's what I've given in the meal plan anyway. So just have plain warm water. So it's treated as a detox where you don't, take any animal products for a week.
Okay. Soumya has asked that please suggest something for severe constipation.
So this plan along with the enemas will help if you want to, and you can, again, depends on how chronic your constipation is. So there are people who have been constipated for 30 years. So something that is that old, and if you want to fix it with lifestyle, it will take at least 2 to 3 years to be okay. But when you change your lifestyle and you follow this meal plan, within a week, you are bound to see differences. And after that, you will see it getting better, then going back to how it was. For a few months, you'll feel better. A few months, you'll feel, oh, it's gone back the same. But don't get disheartened. Just carry on with it and have faith in this lifestyle. And it'll only just get better and better. And if it's chronic, I'm saying if you've had it for 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, it will take 2-3 years to go. If it's not that old, then you can see immediate results as well. And the best thing anybody can do for constipation is having homemade wheatgrass juice. So not the store-bought ones. I would suggest grow your own wheatgrass. I have actually done a very detailed video on that. So you can grow it yourself and have the shot of wheatgrass. You will see the difference in just one shot. And I'm speaking with personal experience.
Okay. Mansi has asked that you said curd and rice don't go together, but curd is fermented if homemade. Then why can't we eat it with rice?
No, you can. Basically, dairy and rice don't go together. If it's a vegan curd, you can definitely have it with rice.
Okay. Someone has asked, please highlight on food to be avoided in rheumatoid arthritis also.
Again, I can't go into those kind of details on this program because that's a very specific person to person thing. This is something you should actually consult with your practitioner. And it's just that if I am working with people with any particular condition, I do speak to their doctors and then modify the plan accordingly for that.
Okay. Jasmine has asked, the best time to have green juice is morning, but is it okay to have in evening as well?
Yeah, you can have it. And in fact, in the meal plan also, in a few days, I have written in the evenings, if you are hungry, you can have the green juice again. You should just have it empty stomach. So as long as your previous meal was 3 hours before that, it's fine.
Okay, Mansi has asked that do we need to dilute green juice with water?
You don't need to. Again, just in certain conditions where people have a very weak digestive system or even in IBS, they might find that, with green juice, they got more irritated or diarrhea or something. So in those conditions, it's okay to dilute it. And if you want to dilute it just because you like it thinner, there's no harm in that. You can dilute it, but you don't have to do it. With the wheatgrass juice, I recommend it if somebody wants to try. That must be diluted because it's too strong and it's too much for the body to take. So it has to be diluted with water.
Okay, Archana has asked, can you suggest any other option if we are getting kale? Also, please explain why kale, not other greens.
What are you talking about? The meal plan specific recipe? You can mute yourself and just tell me. I understand the question. Whose question was that?
Archana Rao.
Yeah, hi, Archana, you can just unmute yourself and tell me what did you mean by that question? Okay, you can type in the chat.
Hi, Priyanka Archana here.
Yeah.
This is regarding the meal plan where you have mentioned kale as the morning the green juice in the morning
Right.
along with So can you tell me if you're not getting kale?
You can replace with any green leafy vegetables. That's okay. I just write these things because sometimes people forget about the options that they have, and they just end up having the same spinach every day. So, but it's okay. You can replace with any green leafy vegetables.
Anything, even moringa or even amaranth leaves.
So herbs are different. So I'm don't replace it with any herbs. Like moringa leaves are very strong. You can maybe put one
Correct.
tiny leaves in there. But leafy vegetables, I would mean like spinach or kale or lettuce leaves, beetroot greens, carrot greens. You can put those.
Okay, fine. Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so next, Soumya has asked, please suggest green juice for clearing constipation.
For what in constipation?
For clearing constipation.
What's that? I didn't get it.
I think she's asking green juice for curing constipation.
Curing. Okay. Any green juice is good. And like I mentioned, if you want the number one option, it is a wheatgrass juice. Otherwise, if you include green juices every day in your diet, any green vegetable juice, so that would mean loki and cucumbers and petha juice is very good, and all green leafies. So you can just mix them half and half and have the juice. But nothing beats wheatgrass for constipation.
Okay. Swati has asked that on juicing, we are using a larger quantity of vegetables. considering level of pesticides in vegetable, is it a safe option? If organic not available, then what?
You can soak it in vinegar water for 20 minutes.
Okay. Mansi has asked, what green juices in winter shall we take?
You have to see whatever vegetables are available. You can take that. You can continue with these same vegetables. And in winters, when it's carrot season, it's okay to mix 1 or 2 carrots also in the juice. But never have just plain carrot juice, because that's just carrot. All the root vegetables are high in sugar. So, but you can mix spinach and carrots and loki, cucumbers, and make a juice. So idea is to sticking to seasonal vegetables, and so just see what's available in that season and juice it.
Okay. Charu Sheila has asked, after a vigorous workout, body needs protein for the repair of the muscles. How do you achieve that?
So as I mentioned that body does need protein, but not immediately. At that time, we should give something like a green juice, which has a lot of nutrients, so that you get that energy back first in the body. And after green juice only takes about 15 to 20 minutes to digest. So 20 minutes after that, you can have your sprout salad is the best way to have a high protein meal.
Okay.
Even microgreens, if you don't mind growing your own microgreens, or you can even buy them, but they're a bit pricey. So I would recommend if you can grow your own microgreens, that's also good. Sprouts are great, easy to make at home. So sprout salad is fine.
Okay, she has asked one more question. Could you please elaborate on oxygen being used by the body through foods?
Basically, body needs oxygen for everything, really. So when when you're eating raw foods, they have more oxygen in them. And there are different ways we get oxygen from food. We get oxygen from air, of course, when we are breathing, and when we get oxygen from water as well. So, but there is a certain level of oxygen that body needs to maintain to carry out all the processes. Anything we are doing, really, like this, every single cell of the body needs oxygen for its survival. So the more oxygen we have, more lively each cell will be, and it will show in your skin and your energy levels, hair, like literally everything. We can't survive without oxygen even for a second. The thing is that we are breathing oxygen all the time, but now the air is polluted. So when you get oxygen from raw foods, that's the purest form of oxygen you can get. It's better than what we are breathing.
Okay. Nita has asked, how can someone who cannot have raw get the enzymes? Would steamed veggies have them?
No, they don't. And that's why, like I mentioned, that the body has its own enzymes. There are people who are on completely cooked diets for years and years. It's because the body is now using its own enzymes. But you should start including them from in the form of juices. So people who can't have raw foods usually are okay with juices, so and diluted juices. And when you start on a lifestyle like I have shared, you introduce just maybe 1/4 or a half a glass of green juice diluted with water. And you follow that for a few months. And as and when you start getting better and better, you can start introducing certain raw vegetables. And there's also, I'll share a link. There's like a food map that tells you which raw vegetables would be easy to start introducing. And so you can experiment. Again, these conditions are very individual, depends on person to person. So I can't literally say, oh, this is the best for you, but you will have to try and see how you feel. So after 2-3 months, you experiment with 2-3 raw vegetables. And if they don't suit you, try something else.
Okay. Jasmine has asked that if we don't take any oil, there will be no fat in our diet. How to make up for that?
No, so we are not doing a fat-free diet. If you look at the meal plan, there is a lot of use of nuts and seeds and coconut and avocado. All these are natural sources of fats. So we are replacing processed oils with the direct source. Like oils also come from all these only, right? Like avocado oil is there, sesame oil is there, peanut oil is there. So we can just have peanuts or sesame seeds directly, flax seeds. Meal plan, if you take a look at it, will have a lot of fats in there.
Okay. Mansi has asked, so what about desi ghee? Can we use it for kids and adults?
See, again, it's a personal preference. Like I have explained all the reasons why dairy should not be used. And in this meal plan, I would recommend and suggest everyone not to include any dairy for these 7 days at least. Outside of that, you want to use it. I mean, you can have anything that you want, but the reasons that I explained for dairy, they apply to desi ghee as well. And you can think of it the other way, that why am I having desi ghee? And can that not be replaced by coconut? You also get, I mean, if you feel that, okay, kids are used to certain taste, you get vegan ghees as well. Certain brands are doing that. So you can start with, replacing slowly for them, and later on reducing the quantities. And they'll get used to, basically you have to set the sample example for kids, so they'll eventually eat what you're eating.
Okay, Jasmine has asked, can you tell how to have other seeds as well? Pumpkin, sunflower, chia seeds, etc.
You can have any seeds. There's just one thumb rule, that you must soak them. So smaller seeds only need 3-4 hours of soaking, and after that you can consume them. And there was a list that I had shown on the screen. I'll post it on WhatsApp also, of which ones can be occasionally cooked, so you can roast them as well. But there is usually no need, only in certain recipes where you need to cook, you can cook them. But even then, always make sure that you soak the nuts, any nuts or seeds you want to have. And you can just add them to your salads. You can just have it as a mid-meal in the morning, like between your breakfast and lunch. If you're hungry, you can have some nuts or seeds, or you can make salad dressings, and that's also included in the meal plan. We will be seeing one of the salad dressings tomorrow, so you can make salad dressing with any nuts or seeds.
Okay. Sushma has asked, also are Brazilian nuts required in small quantity?
See, nothing like that. Again, I'll say stick to local. So whatever locally available nuts and seeds are there, have them. That's fine. You want to have Brazilian nuts, there's no harm. You can have them too. But it's not that it's compulsory. As long as you're including a variety of 4-5 different kinds of nuts and seeds, it's okay.
Okay. Nandini has asked, how about fish consumption?
So again, the reasons that I mentioned about dairy literally actually apply to any animal products, and fish is worse out of all, because all our household waste, all our drainage system, all the industrial waste is literally going into the oceans, and that's what the fish is eating right now. And they are not in the best of their health, so we can definitely not get any good out of that. We are also disrupting the balance of oceans by fishing so much. You should watch this documentary Seaspiracy and just learn about the fact. And they'll also tell you about factory farming. So a lot of people said, okay, so all the industrial waste is going in the oceans. Let's start factory farming of fish. So you grow fish in your own ponds. But if you go and see literally what they're doing, because fish is not meant for that environment, so they don't really grow very well in that environment. Then they give injections to those fish. They even use pink dyes so that the salmon looks pink and people want to pay more price for it. So honestly, I mean, you should not eat fish if you want good health. You should not eat fish if you want good environment, and you should not eat fish if you want to avoid climate change, and you should not eat fish if you don't want the metaphysics. I spoke about those metaphysical toxins that come in food.
Okay.
Probably taste is probably the only thing. Why would you want to eat? Like for me, the taste is also not, but for some people, yes.
Okay. Nadia has asked, can people with thyroid or PCOD have millets? I was advised not to take millets for thyroid, even ragi.
No, I don't think so. As long as you soak it, and especially when you soak it and you take out the starch water and you ferment that starch water, it's really good for you. I can still look it up. Maybe a particular millet might not be good, but as a general, all millets definitely not. In fact, it's good for any hormonal issues.
Okay. Jasmine has asked, we get millets also in packets. Hope that's okay to consume.
Yeah, just read and just make sure the millets that you are buying is unpolished, because polished millets is an unpolished millet is similar to brown rice and white rice, right? So the outer covering has been removed, then it's no point. And usually I think mostly all brands are doing unpolished millets only, but it's always good to check before buying.
Okay. Sunita has asked, can I have green juice instead of millet kanji?
No, they are two different things. Juice is we are having it as first thing in the morning to break the all night fast, and we want more energy in the morning, and it's high in nutrition. That's why we're having that. But the millet kanji we are having because it's a probiotic, and that's why the whole meal plan is designed around probiotic foods and to feed the gut with bacteria. So that is a very important part here. And
Okay.
it's easy to make, so I don't know why you're hesitant. I mean, if you're boiling millet at night, it's very easy to make. So I'd suggest just give it a try.
Okay. Hiril has asked, is there any risk of injury while doing enema?
Not really, but I would suggest that you can use a little bit of aloe vera gel on the tip. And there is also an option, I'm not sure if it's easily available everywhere, but you get some very good quality catheters. They are made of silicone or rubber, but sometimes they are like horrible quality. That's why I usually don't suggest people, because it has some poor quality rubber and gives itching and all. So but those are really soft, and they just can't cause any sort of injury. But even if you're using the regular tube that comes with the enema, it's okay. Just be careful. It's no rocket science. I mean, once you try, you insert it carefully with some aloe vera gel, it's fine.
Okay. Nadia has asked, I was told enema should be done every day as it I was sorry. I was told enema should not be done every day as it disturbs Vayu. The Fit Tuber has a video about enema is a fad and not to do it every day. Not sure which is right.
Yeah, there are always different schools of thoughts, and he was talking. I've seen that video, and he was talking about Ayurveda recommending it only under certain conditions. The thing is, when Ayurveda, I respect Ayurveda. I have studied a lot of it, and I follow Ayurvedic principles in a lot of things. But it is a very old system, and that time the environment was different, the food was different, our health was different. So honestly, it was not required every day in those times. But now, when our system is full of toxins, we need to remove them. And even I said, yeah, we don't need to do it every day for the rest of our life. It's not a lifestyle. Like the meal plan, I can tell you, yes, it's a lifestyle. You can follow it for the rest of your life. Anema should be done 3 weeks every day, because for some people there might not be actually a need. When you do it for 4 5 days and you actually feel okay, now everything is clean and nothing's coming out that's different, but I doubt it happens in our case, because we have age old toxins stuck. So when you start doing it, especially people who are constipated, and by constipated I mean if you're not having at least one bowel movement every day, means you have constipation. So anybody who is constipated, when they start doing enema, sometimes the first 3 4 days nothing comes out. So you have to keep doing it, because every time the water goes in your intestine, it starts to soften those year old toxins that are stuck in there. When you keep doing it for 10 days, 12 days, then you will see just a lot of toxins coming out, and then you will, when you see that, then you will not regret doing it, because you will literally see that what was stuck inside of you that has come out now. So and anyways, it's just 3 weeks, right? So you can do it every day for 3 weeks, then like I said, once a week for some time, and then you can stop. And for lifelong, if you get some kind of flu or any health issues, that means you have more toxins in the body whenever you have any health issue. So it's a good idea to take an enema whenever you get any health issues.
Okay. Nandini has asked, is there any chance of infection while doing enema daily?
No, just be careful, wash it with hot water and your regular soap, and that's fine.
Okay. Hiril has asked, which is the best oil for foot massage and body massage?
There's no best oil. You can do use any oil. That's okay. I personally like sesame oil. I use that a lot. Summers, coconut is good. Winters, mustard is good. But then, a lot of sites like brands like Kama and stuff, they have specific oils with certain herb infusions. Everything is fine. You can use anything that you like. The point is that you want to do, when you massage, it helps in circulation. So that helps in circulation of blood and also the lymphatic fluids in the body, which pushes all the toxins out. So that's why it's important. So any oil is okay.
Okay. Jasmine has asked.
Organic oils, again, wherever possible.
Yeah. Jasmine has asked, can we use water in which rice is boiled for hair rinse?
Yeah, so that's what I explained in the beginning, that the probiotic hair rinse that I have mentioned, that's what we need to do. So the millet kanji, the recipe, I'll share the video. So basically, that once it's fermented, right? So when I'll just briefly explain here also how we make that is, we soak the millet or rice and we cook it in that soaking water itself. We don't discard the soaking water. We boil the millets. Once the millets are cooked, we separate the water and the millets. And then we leave that water for fermenting. And to ferment, we add some chili crowns in there. So by next morning, it's fermented, and then you can use that water as a hair rinse. And in this 1 week, I would suggest everyone to try it any one day, because once a week is fine. You can do it twice a week also if you want, but at least once I'll suggest everyone to try it.
Okay, I think, Priyanka, can we wrap up the session now? We can anyways, take the questions on WhatsApp.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And I'll WhatsApp all the videos that need to be seen.
Yeah, both these videos.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. All the questions